Hey, it's williee with your Floral Industry Buzz. Today we're going to interview Adrian Parsons. Adrian is a director at Helix. Helix is a brand and a company for wax flower that's grown down in Australia and in Kenya and in California. So it might be interesting to know a little bit more about wax flower, where it comes from, and its seasonal habits, and what a neat, interesting flower. So let's learn more about it from Adrian. Adrian Parsons of Helix. So, Adrian, as I mentioned, I don't know a lot about wax flower. I've seen it, know a little bit about it, but not much. It comes in pretty colors, I know. Uh, and I know somehow Wafex is involved. So, in a roundabout way, I came to find you. And one of the things that people like to see in my videos is something different and something a bit unique and out of the ordinary. And while perhaps wax flower is not all of that, it's been around a long time. I, I think flowers in Australia don't necessarily often get mentioned in the same in breath. So, with that said, tell me about Helix and the product.
Thanks, Willie. Thanks for having me. Well, Helix Australia was started about 13 years ago, and it came out of Wafex. Wafex is the leading exporter of Australian native flowers. My partner Craig Musson and I have operated that business since the early 1990s, and wax flower was always our biggest export crop. Back in that time, Australia owned the Southern Hemisphere um, market for wax flower. We were the only producer from July till December. So we had the Japanese market, the American market, the European market. That started to change in the late 90s, early 2000, where production out of Peru and South Africa came into play. And we were uncompetitive due to our high freight costs and high labour costs. So we were faced with the dilemma. Our days as a wax flower exporter were numbered unless we could get into breeding and develop new varieties and command a premium.
Hmm.
So that's the background of how the company started. Wax flower is native to Western Australia, the West Coast. It loves a hot, dry environment. And yeah, wax flower is now grown extensively in Israel, California, Peru, Australia. They would be the main production zones. That means wax flower is on the global flower market almost 12 months of the year now.
Yeah, I know that. I know it was a very seasonal product. Hey, why do they call it wax flower? Because it looks waxy.
It does, yeah. The flower of wax flower is it's got a real waxy look to it. So it's not the most attractive name, but yeah, it's native to Geraldton. Geraldton wax is what some people call it. But it's a very established filler flower now, and I think it's in the top 10 filler flowers in the world. And it's highly sought after by bouquet makers. It adds real volume and colour to bouquets. With breeding, the quality and vase life has improved. Post harvest has improved. I mean, I think back to our early days of exporting to Suyasu up in San Francisco, and we'd send 100 boxes, and we'd cross our fingers and toes and pray that it arrived okay. And back then, our post-harvest treatment and our varieties wasn't that great. The airlines weren't as good as they are today, and we'd have heating problems, ethylene problems, and claims. That has come down considerably.
Yeah,
Claims on
well,
our product
yeah, you you can't survive in the business with too many claims and credits on product that you can't get to market. Is this an outdoor crop?
Very much so. Yeah, it requires a large acreage, prefers hot, dry summers, prefers very sandy, free draining soils, and yeah, doesn't like frost. So in the States, it's grown prolifically down Carlsbad, San Diego area. In South Africa, it's grown on the Western Cape. In Australia, it's grown in a number of climatic areas, which gives us a longer flowering time. And Peru, yeah, sorry, my Peru geography is not that good, but I know it's very hot and dry.
There's plenty of microclimates there. Yeah, I believe in. I think Milano's growing it for you in California. Is that correct?
That's right. So the way the Helix business is structured is we have licensed growers around the world. So there's quite a large investment in breeding, and to recapture that investment and provide a return, we license growers, and they pay a royalty on sales each year. So we have an arrangement with the Milano family in California. They've done 2 years of production now, across about 8 or 10 varieties, and it's going well. Yeah, the yield, the crop came into harvest very quickly. COVID obviously knocked it around last year. I think they were halfway through the crop, and COVID hit in California, and no labour and no transport, so crop was pruned. So yes, outdoor crop, 3 years till you start getting commercial harvest, and then every year after that.
And that sort of brings your product closer to markets, I guess. Huh?
Well, closer to market, but more importantly, giving us longer flowering time. You know, California or American market is sourcing Southern Hemisphere wax from South Africa, Australia, and Peru from May, June up until November. By producing in California, our waxes are then in the market from December till April, May. So
Yeah.
we're there the whole time, and the Dutch have long argued, you know, the longer a product is in the market, it's better for its pricing and acceptability. Designers and bouquet makers can plan on it for long periods of time, not just, you know, 4, 6, 8 weeks in a year.
So this is definitely a cultivated crop, though. This is not something just growing out in the bush where you're going out and picking it.
No, very much cultivated. You know, back in the day, it would have been harvested out of the Western Australian bush, as were a lot of Banksias, as were kangaroo paws. Obviously, the restrictions on wild harvests have tightened up, and you know the quality of wild product is not that good.
Right.
So yes, it's all cultivated, outdoor. As I said, Israel is the biggest producer of wax flower in the world. They do about 50 million stems per year, and that's primarily shipped to the European market into Holland.
So is this treated, many flowers like different temperature ranges and humidity and as such. It would seem like this is a very dry product, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, at a production level, yeah, the hotter the better. I mean, it's native to Geraldton. Geraldton summer temperatures can get as high as 40 degrees Celsius, which is sort of 110, 115 in your language.
Ouch.
And providing growers can irrigate over that summer period, which improves the quality and the stem length, they can achieve good crops. So it doesn't like humidity, doesn't like heavy soils. Hotter and drier the better, and minimal frost.
Huh. Interesting. And so you're selling it across the world, and it seems to have become a popular product, or is a
Yeah,
popular.
very popular, and the uptake on our new varieties has been really positive. I mean, as we're all trying to optimize our price and extract a premium, and the Helix varieties are obtaining premium prices. So we get a little bit of pushback from some growers who don't want to pay a royalty on harvest. But we can very clearly argue, the price that they will achieve farm gate is a lot higher than they would from non-patented varieties. So yeah, the message is getting through. We're trying to brand our product, communicate the Helix message as far down the chain as we can. In Australia, we brand all our bunches. We're using a plastic cellophane sleeve. We've now switched to a more environmental, biodegradable tag. And that we want the florists asking the wholesaler for Helix wax.
And
they've shown they will pay more for it.
Helix is a brand and a company name? Is it both?
Yeah, Helix Australia is the company name. And yeah, we endeavour to brand our product as much as we can. That so far that's only happened in Australia. Yeah, I'm encouraging my overseas growers to brand also, because then we will go and invest in downstream PR so that florists around the world are asking wholesalers for our wax over non-patented wax.
All right, so with that said here, I'm going to share my screen here a minute and see if I
Okay.
can't pop up a picture of this lovely looking product here. And there we have it. So it's quite a potpourri of color.
Yeah, I mean the typical color palette of wax in general is in white, pinks, mauves, and purples. Um, so most of our varieties fit into that color palette. Where the variation comes in is flowering time. So a big focus on our breeding is developing early and late varieties to extend the season and command higher price premiums. Um, our breeding program is chasing new colors, chasing yellow, we're chasing orange, chasing red.
Huh.
Yeah, we've got pretty high tech breeding now. We work with Kings Park Botanic Gardens in Perth, and they are breeding at a cellular level, and trying to bring in colours and plant forms from other Australian native species that will broaden the colours that we can offer in wax flower down the track.
Yeah, and those colors I was showing, they were all your patented varieties, I guess?
They were, yeah, and the real trend in our patented varieties is we're developing bigger blooms, bigger buds. Um, what's coming through the breeding pipeline the next 5 or 10 years, fingers crossed, we will double the size of the bloom.
Ah.
So wax is a filler flower. Filler flowers are always on the sort of lower end of the value chain, but we're hopeful by increasing the size. We want to coin a phrase called a feature filler, where we're sort of in between a filler and a feature, and florists maybe don't need to use so many. And again, our price value increases.
Yeah, I think spray carnations, which have been around a long time, or spray
Yep.
this and that, sort of fit that need. They're a filler, but you get a lot in your bunch, a lot
Yep.
of stems or a lot of blooms in your bunch, and that makes it a great filler product.
Yeah. So bloom size is important. New colours, as I mentioned, and extending the season. That's sort of nirvana for us. There's pretty well a global gap on wax flower at Mother's Day. California is typically running out of gas coming into Mother's Day,
Right.
and Southern Hemisphere producers like Australia and South Africa have yet to start. So, one of our varieties we harvested at Mother's Day in Australia this year, small quantity, but we've effectively brought the season forward 6 to 8 weeks from when we started. The next challenge is taking that genetics, planting it in different climatic zones that will make that even earlier. So if we can hit Mother's Day, um, the potential to grow volumes is massive.
Well, yeah, if you're missing Mother's Day, that's not a good thing because
Uh,
that's the biggest holiday here. It's still
yep.
so. Hey, Adrian, how do people find out if they want Helix? What do they do?
Yeah, so Willie, our website is helixaustralia.com.au. We're on Instagram as well. I think it's helix_Australia. My LinkedIn, I put a lot of Helix related information on my LinkedIn page, Adrian Parsons. And yeah, just try and keep the flower industry up to date with all our developments on breeding and new varieties. We're also active at a pot plant level, Willie.
All
So
right.
most of our varieties are also grown for the landscape and retail garden centre market,
Ah,
um, and different sort of properties we're looking for. We're looking for more compact forms that work well in a garden. So some of our breeds come through. We love the flower, we love the form, but it doesn't have, say, stem length and yield to be a cut flower. but that can make it suitable for a garden application. So, yeah, in Europe, we've got a licensed grower in Italy, and they're producing very good numbers of potted wax flower plants for the European market.
If you plant it in your garden, does it continue to grow, or is it a seasonal crop? You got to pull it out.
No, it continues to grow. It's a shrub.
It's
It's
a
a
shrub.
shrub. So,
Yeah,
so
beautiful.
yeah.
Well,
Again,
maybe in
well,
Phoenix. In Phoenix, it would work. Maybe no, it won't work here in
yeah.
Orlando.
No, Florida would be just too humid.
Too humid,
Um, and the northeast of the state's too cold
too
with
cold.
snow and things like that. But what happens in Europe, that throwaway disposable colour in pot plants is quite prevalent. So most of our waxes that are grown in Italy are shipped into Holland, even Scandinavia. They're a coffee table, balcony pot plant. When they finish flowering, they throw them out.
Toss it out. Well,
So we love that. We love that obsolescence because they buy again next year.
and you got to buy some more. Well,
Exactly.
that's why the cut flower business works pretty good. They
Yeah, very much.
ideally you need more. Well, Adrian, I would hope you would do me a favor and send me those links you have by email, and I'll post them up
Yep.
here in the video when I produce it. And that way people can find you and know how to source your product. It's been very interesting to learn about waxflower because again, I knew very little about it other than I've seen it at shows and it's pretty and colorful. I do, it's one of those hallmarks of it. It's got color.
Yeah, and any of your viewers interested in sourcing within the US market, the best contact is Wafex USA,
Yeah.
based in California. So they're importing Helix wax from South Africa and Australia. And I've seen pictures of our farms down in South Africa, and they've got beautiful product at the moment. So yeah, Wafex USA is the best contact for any American inquiries.
Perfect, perfect. Well, Adrian, thank you for your time. I'm glad we had a chance to do this. It's not easy dealing in tomorrow. So the good news is I'm talking to you tomorrow, so I'm okay. Tomorrow's going to happen. I had a friend
Tomorrow's
that he would,
good. Tomorrow's
yeah, he
good.
would call me from down there to say, "Hey, tomorrow's okay. You're going to live."
Yeah, I haven't got the lotto results or the horse racing results for you.
Yeah,
So
I don't know why you can't figure that out. It seems like and it has to be a giant challenge dealing with the U.S. when you're 14 hours difference. You're always working on talking to people yesterday.
yeah, I mean, when I was a partner in Wafex, I used to handle all the exports to the American market. So that meant being on the phones from my 5 a.m. to the Californian clients, but then being on the phone at midnight to call the clients in New York and Florida. And
Yeah.
nothing was worse when a client in New York would say, "Yeah, tell that guy to call me back in 2 hours." And I'd say, "No, I want to go to bed. Give me your order."
Well, I'm sure it has presented challenges, and what a global business we are in. I'm used to traveling to South America and Holland and different places, and even Kenya. But when we talk about far away, Australia, I think, wins the prize.
It does. It's a fantastic country, and yeah, we've got the COVID battles like everyone else, but nowhere near as bad as
Yeah, here
the Northern Hemisphere.
South America's definitely got problems. Africa's got problems. In the U.S. here, we don't know. We are in a revolving door here, it seems. But anyway, life goes on, and we wish you well down there, down under, as they say. And thank you for your time and this few minutes, and I hope people will buy your Helix.
Thanks very much, Willie. Good to talk to you.
My pleasure. Bye now.